You have the fortunate perspective of being close to other scientists who work in virology and who may know a thing or two about vaccines and how that process goes. I know Pfizer today announced that they have received results. I think they're saying something like 90% effective, the vaccine that they're working on, which of course has everybody really excited. But what does that actually mean in terms of like timeline, in terms of process? Like, are we looking at still months away here? Do you know how that works?
So from what I understood, and this is not talking so much to the scientists I know, because at this point, the vaccine is developed, right? It's sort of about the distribution part. But talking to, like my dad and other doctors, that my understanding is that by the end of the year, the number of vaccines they could produce is really not enough that anyone could be expected to get vaccinated. I don't think like the number, wouldn't even cover because they're not going to all go to the US, obviously.
Right.
They're going to be distributed, and the people who are going to get them first are going to be ideally the sort of the first response workers and people like that.
Right.
Workers. So the odds of any of us getting a vaccine in this year outside of a vaccine trial, which I've signed up for, because hopefully that'll work out.
Really? How did you sign up for a vaccine trial?
My university circulated emails. They're doing one. I think probably most major universities are doing them.
Wow.
I haven't gotten contacted yet, but I signed up, so I'm hoping.
So you're not afraid that Bill Gates is going to microchip you with this vaccine?
No, Bill Gates can microchip me all he wants. I don't care.
So you're one of them. Oh my goodness. No, but this is actually a real issue though. The whole, I've already known quite a few people that are kind of in the anti-vaccination crowd, but I'm getting the impression that there are more people who are wary of this new vaccine because they're afraid that it's going to be pushed through too fast and it's not going to be fully tested and we're not going to know what the long-term effects are. And so therefore they'd rather wait for other people to get it and they're not going to vaccinate themselves. And it feels to me that number is larger than the normal anti-vaccination crowd. Do you think, first of all, is there any merit to those fears? And if not, how do we fight back against that fear?
So, okay. I don't think that I am qualified to say whether this is more or less safe than vaccines that took years to finish. I also don't know that you can really make that claim because like the times we've pushed through vaccines either quickly or slowly before have been like so long ago. And the field that I'm in, none of the things that I do in my lab on a day-to-day basis existed in 2007. Like science has changed so quickly and so dramatically that I think it's really hard to be like, oh, well, like the fastest vaccine we pushed through before took like 4 years and it was in 1950. Like, I'm not correct about these numbers or dates, but
sure.
Right.
I don't know that you can make that extrapolation necessarily because the future, from that perspective is just so much different. And the timelines now are going to be different because we have so much more interconnection between scientists and so much more money in everything and just different science. So I don't know is the answer if this is going to be, better or worse because they pushed it through faster. What I do know is that they're doing so many trials and so many different things that they're, the worst case scenario for me is that the vaccine works, but is sort of like an vaccine. Like it's not as effective as they say it is. Like it doesn't work great. And you have to like go through and get a second round of vaccinations once they've sort of improved it. I think, I guess I can't say anything about whether it's going to be terrible for you, but I really think that that's highly unlikely because most of the trials that they're able to do are going to be trials looking for like secondary side effects, right? Like those are the easy trials. Those are the ethically simple trials. You just give a bunch of people the vaccine and see what happens. And if there are any bad side effects, those trials get shut down. We've already seen news of that. So I think the odds of like people freaking out being like, oh, we're going to have a vaccine that's going to like cause all these crazy side effects, it's going to be awful, are really low. I think the bigger risk is that we have a vaccine that's like less effective because estimating efficacy is hard unless you're doing human trials of like that or challenges with COVID, which is not always easy to do. I know they're doing that in London, but I don't know that they can do that ethically everywhere. It depends on like the laws of the individual places.
Right.
So I would be first in line to get the vaccine is the short answer to your question.
Interesting.
I would absolutely.
Well, I think that says a lot, as somebody who, you work in the sciences, you kind of understand how these things work behind the scenes. You have confidence in the process. You have confidence in the people doing it. You have so much confidence in it that you would be first in line to get the vaccine. And I think that says a lot because the people who don't have confidence are the ones who seem to have the least actual knowledge and exposure to how this works. Is that fair to say?
I think probably fair to say. I mean, I have confidence in the redundancy of the process. The science where you're most likely to have like false claims perpetuate in is the science that doesn't get repeated. Like the scientific process is you test, you repeat, other people test and try to repeat your results. If you're studying some obscure thing about like how clams evolved in the South China Sea, like, okay, maybe you could perpetuate false claims because not enough people are studying that. But everyone, the global eyes are focused on this.
Right.
You know, like, people are repeating experiments on experiments. Like this is one of the best studied things there is. So yeah, I would say with my knowledge of the inside of science, I would, absolutely line up to get the vaccine first.
Well, I'm convinced that's good to hear. Not that I was unconvinced before, but it's nice to hear, your perspective on that and hear your confidence in it, knowing, what you know and where you work and your proximity to the kind of people who are doing this work and your understanding of it. So I think that story needs to be told. More people need to hear that story. So we're gonna be putting that one out on YouTube.
Yeah, you better pass that on to your anti-vaxxer friends because I don't know any, but it sounds like you've talked to a few.
I have exactly one anti-vaxxer friend, and she currently lives in the United Arab Emirates, and I did not expect her to be an anti-vaxxer at all. And like the way she started talking about it, I was like, okay, so you're worried about getting microchipped. All right. But like, let's talk about your social media really quick, because you're on Snapchat every fucking day. You're on Facebook all the time. You're on Twitter. Like, you realize that if anyone wanted to follow you around, you have a phone in your pocket, right? Like,
it's so bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. And you start engaging with people in these conversations, and you realize it's just they're creating these elaborate stories and then just like buying into them and not actually like critically thinking about, do they add up and do they make sense cohesively? And, it's hard to have real conversations with people when cohesiveness in their stories about the world isn't a necessity for them.
Thanks for checking out this clip from our show.
To watch more clips or full episodes, click on our profile below.
If you want to stay up to date on all of our new episodes and videos, click subscribe.
And if you have any ideas for future guests or topics that you would like to see us cover on the show,
leave us a message in the comments or connect with us on any of our social media channels at Funtime Program.
Or on our website at funtimeprogram.com.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.